All right, I'm gonna try to do this real quick. With UGRO, we're definitely seeing a bend. All right, I prefer more of a 45-degree angle, like it's set really early here, but now we have this big boost up. So I'll show you guys later, but there's a big block order right here at 220. Um, Actually 221. So I could see us maybe coming up to 221. Uh, the slow stow is starting to get into extremes again. It's turned over right where it's at right here before. So we have to be careful of that. The MACD is turning up, so that's a good sign. But as you could tell, we're there's a big divergence pattern here. One was back here. It played out. It was just a small one. Here's another one. Um, it ended here, and it was a small one. So, with that said, with the slow stow, it looks like we could still have some run in the room. But again, I think it's up to 220, and we need a pullback, which would be very very good for a lot of reasons. But it's just causing inducement right here. So what I'm looking at, what I prefer it to do, I guess, would be, uh, we could just keep flying up. And here's again the downward resistance trend line. This is the big one. And like I said before, in a lot of my other charts I look for is a nice, easy turn out of breaking. Usually, fast up, you have a fast down kind of scenario. It's inducement into all these orders right here, and I'll show you on another chart what that looks like. But good, just because we're in for a pullback, I believe, even though we might get to 221 and then pull back, or we could just start pulling back um, right away um, this week. But the way the slow still looks here on the daily chart, it looks like it's still coming up. A good sign of strength is the SPY tanked, and this pretty much kept going up. We had a little bit of a tail here, but not that big of a deal. Um, but I could see us getting to 220. You're going to want to keep your eye on that right away, because if we hit the 220, 221 area and then start coming down, um, that might be a sign that we're going to have a pullback. Now, these are my trend lines. Here's the biggest support. Here's the secondary one right here, and this is this just the trend off this big run here. Okay, so if you're in it personally, you're going to get quite a bit of a stop loss hit here, but this is the trend line. If you want to stay into it, I would put this. I think it's the last three candles here. This trend line right here. If it breaks that, then we're probably coming back down to this one, or even this one. Okay, but that's a good sign. Here's the previous high. Okay, so you want, for a good healthy run, you want it to revisit the previous high before you start going up again. Okay, so that's what I would look for. Uh, but again, we still looks like we still have room to run, but we could break pretty quickly. But it doesn't look like it's happening here. It's not starting to round off yet. So, um, but the 221 is what I'd really be looking at. If it breaks that, if we follow this trend, continuing up, the resistance is at 237. But again, very, very steep, and we could have a steep pullback. Again, it'd be like you want to see it below 161, which would be, over here, for a nice pullback to then continue onward. I think that well, I'll show you another chart here real quick. But we could see, so we we could come up to 221 area, and then have a pullback. Okay, and I'd like to see it below here, and then have a higher high, a higher low, and then break, and some kind of a pattern like this would be by far the best scenario. Okay, yeah, as long as we stay up on this one right here, we're gonna come back down, and it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. So I don't care for that. That could happen. The highest candle on the chart VWAP here is like at 277 or so. So we could 270, 280. So we but it's still coming down. So a couple days it could be lower. So that could happen. Um, of course, we're still under the downtrend, so another possibility is we could come up, and then just start coming down again, and maybe even break. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm giving you all the scenarios. Okay, no one knows the future, but things are. I like this trend right here, so it's a sign that things are starting to change for UGRO. With that said, then I'm looking at my other chart here. This is the daily chart. Okay, now these big blue lines and red lines here, those are called inducement moves. Okay, so what that means is when you see a red one coming down, it needs to be filled. Okay. It's long story. It's chart structure and all this stuff. Go to the education thread. There's a really good video on inducement and mitigation. So, and if you notice, that hasn't been filled yet, right? So we're looking up to $5 on this. Now if you notice, here's a big run up, and here's inducement here of this run up. So what? It needs to be filled. So boom, it comes down and fills that. And then this just kept going. It's a kind of a liquidity grab. I don't know what it looks like before that, but this is what we're looking at right here. So we have a high of 17, 1277. Not a lot of information on this one, but so we have to keep that in mind. Overall we're in a bullish or a bearish run. Okay, so this could just be a liquidity grab right here before we continue downward. I doubt that. But this is an awfully sharp run up. Okay, now these are order blocks, and look at it. See, it got filled. Okay, but now look at all this inducement right here. Okay, that's going to be filled. Now I'm not saying that's going to happen this month. It could be 3 years from now, right? This could just continue down and stay in the 50-cent area forever. Okay, but eventually these should get filled up to the $5 range here. This part hasn't been filled yet, and none of this has. Okay, there's some big order blocks up here, so we really don't have any down below 30% right here, 37% right here, which we just filled. Okay, so there's an 11% one, and there's 27% up here. So it looks like on this indicator, long story what this is, but this looks like it's still continuing to gain strength. So um, it, in all intents and purposes, I know what you would like is to see it come back and fill this like right away. But that this was this was February, so this could be a long run. And like I showed you on the other chart, what you want to see is here we have a lower low, and here's the high. So now we have here's this move. So we come up. We want to come back and grab this, and then we can go on to our next moves. Okay, what you don't want to see is something like this. Okay, here's the high, and then the low does not come down and breach that, because that's this stuff, this liquidity. So then we'll start drawing a blue line here, which will mean we're coming back down also. So I know you don't want to chart lecture right now just on UGO. So it looks good, and it definitely, we're in a change, of structure here, or at least a character change. So what I would like to see is maybe us pull back into this range right here, and then continue onward, like I showed you on the other chart with the trend line. But we'll wait and see. But right now, we can run up again. Here's that 220 block, and then pull back. Or we could go sideways for a little bit and hit this trend line and continue onward. There's all kinds of scenarios, but right now I would say 2 out of the 3 versions look very bullish, and expect pullbacks as long as we stay above the 130 range. We'll be fine. We'll still have momentum going forward. So. But the high stakes guys that are really conservative guys, you want your stop on this trend. See if it bounces back down off of this trend right here, and then set another higher high. And once it does that, what I always look for is the twos, I call it. Okay, you have one higher high, a higher low. Whoops. That would be a higher high. So that's 2 higher highs, and then 2 higher lows. So 2 higher highs, 2 higher lows, 2 and 2. That is when you know that you're officially in a change of, or a break of structure, and you're definitely on the way up. And you could hold this probably for quite a while. And with that said, guys, that's all I have. Those are the scenarios that I'm looking at. And have a good one.